Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. Going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days. For today's video, this will take us to around the 26th of April. So we're going towards the end of the month with the updates now. We're going to have this burst of warm weather coming up in the days ahead. It's going to get very warm for a time at the end of the week, with temperatures going above probably 25 degrees, 77 Fahrenheit. So we're not going to be far away from 80 Fahrenheit at the end of the week. As going to the weekend, it probably gradually cools down, and next week is looking cooler and more unsettled, which was expected. We didn't expect this spell of early summer-like warmth to last more than a day or two, really. So we're going to get around 4 or 5 days of pleasantly warm weather, peaking around Thursday or Friday, then gradually cooling down over weekend and going cooler and more unsettled into next week. And that probably takes us through to the end of the month then. I'll talk you through everything that's going on right now. We'll begin by having a look at the central England temperature from Hadley. It's updated up to yesterday, so this is provisional up to the 15th of April. Coming out at 8.2, an anomaly of 1.3 degrees above average. So the first half of April, despite all of those cold, grey and gloomy days that we had last week, first half of April actually coming out warmer than average by over 1 degree. The reason that's happened is because although last week the daytimes were quite cold and chilly under those grey and gloomy skies, nighttime temperatures held up relatively well. So we had days and nights offsetting one another, and actually the nights obviously were a little bit warmer compared to average, compared to the days being a little bit cooler compared to average. So we've come out anyway for the first half of April above average. That's going to move up further as we go through the next few days. So we're looking at probably quite a substantially warmer than average month actually now. We may get to 2 degrees above average in the week ahead, but then I suspect that will fall back a little bit for the final week of the month. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts for the next week to 10 days from our Penn State University website. We've got the ECMDF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure and low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream running above. Blue extrapolates to low pressure, red and orange to high pressure. So the ECMDF looks rather zonal, actually, in the 7 to 10 day time frame. Remember, these are the mean flowcharts for, so the 7 to 10 days takes us up to 26th of April, so into the final week of the month. And we have the below average heights with blue colours up to the north. Then we've got the above average heights with these orange colours down to our south, and just a flat westerly flow coming through with a jet stream rather like that. It looks like the most unsettled conditions with that would be in the north. The driest conditions would be in the south. Probably quite cool as well, because the areas coming from a northerly source in the Atlantic Ocean, so particularly for northern parts of the country, I think that would be a relatively cool scenario. GFS is very similar. The only difference is that the above average heights is a little bit stronger to our south. So that means the below average heights a little bit further north, and so the jet stream still coming through the country, but more towards the north. It means the southern areas probably a little bit drier and warmer there in the 7 to 10 day time frame, whereas in the north probably still quite cool and quite unsettled overall. This is how the GFS samples are looking for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at Tamworth today, so I'm going to ask you to have a look at Tamworth. We've got the red line here, which is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Tamworth. And we're starting off around average with the upper air temperatures for today. They will be lifting up, though, through the rest of the week, peaking towards the end of the week up there, around 10 Celsius at 850 HPA, which is high enough to lift temperatures into the low to mid-20s Celsius. I mean, only a very slow and gradual decline in those temperatures at the end of the week and into weekend. It's not really till next week that we see those temperatures dipping away, and they do dip away, they do fall away, returning back to average, possibly even a little bit cooler than average for the final days of April. That's that period. Just so it's a very long way off. But fairly good agreement with GFS ensembles for temperatures to be lowering as we go through into the final week of April. For precipitation, a lot of dry weather coming up through the rest of this week in Tamworth, and then over the weekend into next week, it gradually starts to turn more unsettled. It's not a dramatic change to unsettled weather, but slowly but surely, as we go through the final week of April, the precipitation spikes are coming back. Surface temperatures look like that in Tamworth with GFS Summers, so starting off at or a bit above 10 degrees Celsius today, and then climbing through the rest of the week, reaching their peak at the end of the week. This says 20 degrees will be the peak for Tamworth. I think it may be a little bit higher than that, 21, 22, possibly 23. For Tamworth at the end of the week, higher than that down in the southeast, of course. And then we go through to next week, and the temperatures are sliding off, returning back to average, possibly even going a little bit cooler than average. There are some quite cold nights appearing here in this final week of April within the GFS ensembles, with some ensemble members, by no means all of them, but some ensemble members in the final week of April are returning close to frost levels. And we'll have a look at precipitation, so we don't need to look at that again. Temperature anomalies for the next week are coming out warmer than average. The 16th through to the 24th of April comes out substantially warmer than average for the UK and for Ireland too, and for virtually the whole of Europe coming out with a warm temperature anomaly. Precipitation anomalies at the same time are coming out drier than average from the 16th to the 24th of April, except in the very far northwest of Scotland and Northern Ireland. It's a little bit wetter than average there, but the majority of the country coming out drier than average in the week ahead. So this is how the midnight run of the GFS was looking, bringing up those southerly winds on Thursday. So high temperatures pushing up from the Mediterranean at the end of the week. High pressure still dominating as we go through to Friday as well. Pressure gradients are just slackening a little bit, so we might by Friday be getting a little bit of wobbling in the atmosphere, possibly enough to produce a few scattered thundery showers down across the south, triggered by the slight weakening of the pressure and also the heat of the afternoon on Friday. There might be a few thunderstorms scattered about, but by no means we've had an unsettled looking situation. And then the high pressure actually rebuilds a little bit on Saturday. By then we are bringing cooler air down into Scotland and Northern Ireland, but still very warm down across the south. And then that high pressure moves to our east as we go through to Sunday, and that's when we start to begin to break things down properly. So by Sunday to Monday, I suspect we are getting showers breaking out across the country, maybe some of those thundery as well. And then through next week, it slowly is turning more unsettled. This is taking us to day 10, where we are back into an unsettled westerly type situation. It's not desperately unsettled. I have to emphasise that. We do, even by day 10, Thursday 26th April, we do still have some anticyclonic influences to our south. So particularly for southern parts of the country, reasonable amount of dry weather. But up in the north, it is more unsettled. And those cooler and more unsettled conditions taking us through to the end of April and even into the start of May. Always more of an anticyclonic influence for the south. So always the most unsettled conditions up to the north and to the west. The 6 o'clock run, the latest run of the GFS, looks like that. So southerly winds, again, bringing those very warm temperatures at the end of the week. And then we go through into the weekend. Still keeping a lot of high pressure around on Saturday. But by Sunday, that high pressure, again, it's starting to weaken and slip to the east. Low pressure is beginning to move in from the west, so probably showers breaking out on Sunday, maybe some of those thundery, and then by Monday, 23rd of April, we bring the westerlies through. It turns cooler and fresher across all parts of the country. Actually, the 6 o'clock run of the GFS looks a little bit more unsettled through the course of next week, particularly so for the north. That could be bringing quite a bit of wet weather to the north and west next week. The south gets the driest of the conditions. All places a lot cooler and fresher as well. Then as we go through into the extended range of this run of the GFS, the 6 o'clock run, we start to build high pressure again to our north and northwest. So winds are going back into the east again with this run, and it's turning more unsettled with heavy rain coming back into the south and a strong and would be quite cold easterly wind coming back for the start of May. I'm not sure about that. It looks very different to what the midnight run of GFS was doing. But again, it does imply that the last week of April is likely to be quite a bit cooler, quite a bit more unsettled. Temperatures are looking like this from the 6 o'clock run of BGFS. So for today, we're looking at maximums. Probably somewhere's going to get 15 or 16 degrees, but most places sort of down into below teens. So 12, 13, 14 degrees for the bulk of the country. Tomorrow, it's becoming warmer in the southeast. We're up to 18 or 19, potentially for East Anglia, southeast England. The north and the west is a little bit cooler, still close to average with the temperatures into below teens Celsius. But there will be more wave cloud and some showery bursts of rain around in northwest tomorrow. It's really Wednesday that warmth starts to push northwards. So by Wednesday, we're seeing temperatures widely across the country into the upper teens or low 20 Celsius. It's going for a maximum of around 23 in London. You can normally add on a degree or two to these temperatures. So by Wednesday, we might be seeing temperatures close to 25 degrees in the south. Thursday looks very warm for England and Wales in particular, with temperatures generally between around sort of 21 to 23. This is going for 26 as the maximum in London. Now, if you was to add on a degree or two to that, so 27, 28 is not impossible there if you was to add on a degree or two. That's going into the 80s Fahrenheit in central London. So that's really, really warm for the 19th of April. Hot for the 19th of April. Elsewhere, looking very pleasantly warm. Bursts of summer-like weather. Still well and truly on course for the end of the week. That's Friday. Again, temperature's not quite as high on Friday, but even so, we're into the low to mid-20s Celsius once more. Saturday, again, the temperature just slides down a degree or two every day. So Thursday might be the peak. This spell of very warm weather might peak early on Thursday. And then whilst it is still very warm for Friday and Saturday, maybe just the temperature edges down by a degree or two. So England and Wales still up to 21, 22, 23. On Saturday, we're up to Saturday now. It is turning a bit cooler though up across Scotland and Northern Ireland, a sign of things to come. And that's how things look on Sunday with the temperatures. So by then, Scotland is going quite cool, down to just 10 to 12. Northern Ireland down to just 11 to 14. So obviously temperatures are lowering quite a lot over the weekend. But still hanging on to the warmth across southeastern parts of the country. Temperatures still into below to possibly just about mid-20s Celsius. But by Monday, this time next week, then all places have turned a lot cooler. Temperatures have returned back to sort of average values for England and Wales, between around 11 and 15 degrees. And Scotland and Northern Ireland probably going a little bit colder than average, if anything, up there. And then those cooler temperatures stay with us through beyond that into Tuesday, with temperatures again pretty much on the low side. Colder than average by then for the north, and only average at best down in the south. So obviously quite a change in temperature is taking place there, a slide in temperature taking place there at the start of next week. ECMWF then finally, and again we've got those southerly winds pushing up the high temperatures from southern Europe on Thursday, and still dominating with that high pressure on Friday. In fact, high pressure continues into the weekend as well, just that we start to slowly entrench cooler air down from the north and west, but probably still quite warm in the south, definitely turning cooler up in the north. And then through to the start of next week, again we find the Atlantic breaks through. So by Monday, temperatures will be back to average across all parts of the country, maybe even a bit colder than average up in the north, and there'll be showers or longer spells of rain, particularly the northern parts of the country. Then through next week, it turns increasingly unsettled, and that's how we look at day 10 in a west-northwesterly flow. That's a little burst of summer warmth, well and truly a distant memory by then, because actually the air is originating from just to the south of Greenland, so that's going to be quite cool air that's pushing down across the country by day 10, and I suspect there will be some showers, maybe even some longer spells of rain up in the north as well. So we're still on course for this burst of summer-like weather. It looks like temperatures could peak very early in this spell on Thursday. If the GFS is right, we may get to around 26, possibly 27 in central London. That's around 80 Fahrenheit. More widely, temperatures are into the low to mid 20 Celsius, so around 21, 22, those sorts of levels, which it's kind of like the average sort of afternoon maximum in July, so it will be summer, burst of summer weather at the end of the week. And then through the weekend it turns cooler in the north and west. We still hang on to the warmth, not quite as warm, but we still hang on to a good deal of warmth down in the south and southeast over the weekend. Saturday looks mainly dry. Sunday probably turns increasingly showery and possibly some thunder in with that as well. And then we go through to next week and it turns a lot cooler and much more unsettled, especially so for the northern part of the country. Right, that's how it's looking then. We'll bring you up to date with all the latest on the warm temperatures over the next few days, so keep checking back for more. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.